Welcome to Let's Talk About It podcast, brought to you by Laha. An online platform where adolescent girls and women can access information about their health, safety, and well-being. Our content is based on scientific knowledge for educational purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional advice or treatment.
My name is Miriam, and I'm here to share with you some insights on how to speak with your child about sex in a non-shaming way. For many of us, talking about our bodies, and in particular our sexual parts or reproductive organs, can feel uncomfortable and maybe even embarrassing. Talking about sex may also feel this way. This primarily has to do with what and how we learned about our bodies and sex when we were younger from our parents and other adults in our lives. When these topics have been discussed with us in a way that communicates embarrassment, discomfort, or we're not allowed to be discussed at all, we learn to associate them with feelings of shame. This is often the case for women and girls because, depending on our culture or religion, we are also often taught that women's bodies are something to be feared and controlled, and that sex is something that is shameful and bad. As a mother, you may also remember the experience of how people reacted when your body started to change. Such changes often come with attention from boys and men and may have made you feel scared, vulnerable, or ashamed of your body. Body changes may also have come with rules and restrictions on how you dress, who you spend your time with, and where you can go. Remembering how these changes impacted your sense of self, how others viewed you, and your daily activities and movements may mean that you are worried or anxious about these same things for your daughter or daughters. As a parent, you may feel that you want your children, both female and male, to grow up with a different understanding about their bodies and sex. You may also want to ensure your child receives correct information in a non-shaming way. If information comes from you rather than from another child, adults, or the internet, or a potentially untrusted source, you will have a greater chance to influence your child's perception of their body, other people's bodies, and sex. A great place to start is by preparing yourself to have these conversations in a way that communicates openness to your child and does not communicate shame. Conversations about the sexual, reproductive parts of our bodies and sex may be initiated by your child because they come to you with a question, or because you decide to initiate a conversation with them. Let's talk about some points to keep in mind as you prepare for these conversations. So first, it's important to remind ourselves that our child's curiosity about sex is natural and normal. When they ask questions about how the sexual parts of their bodies work or about sex, it is coming from a place of wanting to know how the world works. When children ask questions about their bodies and sex, particularly when they are younger, they are usually asking about anatomy and biology. So the language we use should reflect that and be simple, direct, and use real anatomical terms. So we should be prepared to use terms like vulva, vagina, penis, sperm, eggs, and so on. Let's also remember that information does not scare children. Actually, when they experience changes in their lives and no one explains it to them, it's that lack of information that feels scary. It's also important to separate your own discomfort about speaking about bodies and sex from your child's curiosity. Our children often don't yet have the same associations about bodies and sex wired into them as you might have. So they aren't bringing to these conversations existing feelings of embarrassment, shame, and fear. So you have an important opportunity in these conversations to inform the way they think about and associate with these things. Remember to also prepare yourself that one question may lead to more questions, either in the moment or at another time. That is normal and it's okay. Always ask your children if they have other questions, and let them know that they can always come back to you if they have more questions, and you hope that they do. Remember that you don't need to have all the answers to your children's questions in that moment. If your child asks you questions that you don't feel prepared to answer, it is okay to say that you are glad that they are asking you and that you need to get back to them shortly. You could say something like, "That's a great question, and it deserves a great answer. I want to think about it and come back to you. Give me a few hours," or "give me a day." Make sure, though, that you do return to the conversation without allowing too much time to pass. You could reinitiate the conversation by saying, "You know how you were asking about that thing before the other day? Well, I thought about it, and I'd like for us to continue our conversation." Also know that it is okay and helpful to speak truthfully about your own discomfort. For example, you can say to your child, "I'm so glad you are asking me about this. No one ever talked to me directly about these things when I was your age. This topic is so important. You may notice that I pause or may look uncomfortable. That's not something you're causing, and it's not your fault. It's just that this is new for me to talk about these things aloud." And lastly, your kids will remember how they felt in these conversations more than anything about the conversations themselves. They will remember the message they received, whether their curiosity was met with openness or was shut down. So emphasize upfront how important their questions are. Tell them there are no bad questions, and that asking questions will never get them into trouble. This will send them the message that it is okay for them to bring up topics and questions with you that they haven't talked about before and that may feel a little uncomfortable. You are on your way to being more skillful and feeling more confident in having these conversations with your child.
If you have more questions or would like to talk to someone, you can visit laha.org to connect with a service provider through the Find Services button, or explore more topics using the search function.